Hi, I'm Sadie. After 52 years of marriage, I've been a widow for exactly 8 months now. My husband George left me with a paid-off colonial in a nice neighborhood, a decent retirement fund, and apparently a nephew who suddenly remembers I exist. I was arranging flowers in the living room when the doorbell rang. There stood Marcus, my late sister's boy, all smiles and cologne. Aunt Sadie, you look wonderful. I've been meaning to check on you. After skipping your uncle's funeral? That's thoughtful. His smile faltered slightly. Work emergency. Couldn't be helped. But I'm here now, and I brought someone to help. Behind him stood a man in an expensive suit, holding a leather portfolio. This is my friend Derek. He's a financial advisor. Thought he could help organize Uncle George's affairs. Derek extended his hand. My deepest condolences, Mrs. Campbell. I specialize in helping widows navigate their finances. I bet you do, I thought, but smiled politely and invited them in. Over coffee, Derek asked questions about my accounts, investments, and property. I'm managing fine, I said. George kept everything organized. Of course, Marcus jumped in, but Derek can make sure you're maximizing your assets. At your age, you shouldn't worry about complicated finances. At my age, I've heard that phrase more in 8 months than in 72 years. After they left, I called my friend Elaine for our weekly lunch date at the corner cafe. He brought a financial advisor? You barely see Marcus at Christmas, and now he's concerned about your money? Elaine stirred her tea suspiciously. Apparently, grief made him thoughtful, I said, not bothering to hide my sarcasm. Be careful, Sadie. I've seen this before. My cousin lost everything to her stepson's helpful financial planning. I nodded. George always said Marcus was too interested in our will readings. The following week, they returned. I excused myself to make more coffee, but paused in the hallway when I heard their lowered voices. She's too old to know how much money she has, Marcus whispered. Uncle George was loaded. Those railroad stocks alone are worth a fortune. She seems sharp, though, Derek responded. Please, she asked me the same question twice yesterday. By next month, we'll have power of attorney. I quietly returned to the kitchen, my hands perfectly steady as I arranged cookies on a plate. They thought I was a confused old lady? Perfect. Let them think that. What they didn't know was that before retiring, I'd spent 30 years as an accountant. George and I had planned our finances meticulously. I knew every penny we had. As I carried the coffee back in, I smiled absently and slightly knocked a cup, spilling a bit. Oh dear, how clumsy, I said, watching Marcus and Derek exchange knowing glances. I might be 72, but I've learned patience, and revenge, like a good pot roast, is better when it simmers slowly. Over the next 2 weeks, I perfected my confused old lady act. I'd ask Marcus to repeat things, leave cabinet doors open, and forget conversations we'd had just hours before. When the doorbell rang on Thursday afternoon, Marcus wasn't alone. He'd brought a blonde woman with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Aunt Sadie, this is my wife Vanessa. She wanted to meet you properly. We met at your Christmas party 3 years ago, Vanessa said, her voice dripping with forced sweetness. I brought that cranberry salad you loved. I'd never seen this woman before in my life, but I smiled vaguely. Of course, dear. The cranberries. Lovely. Vanessa exchanged a look with Marcus that screamed, I told you so. I brought you some homemade soup, Vanessa said, heading to my kitchen like she owned it. And I can organize your medications while I'm here. That's so thoughtful, I replied, watching her open cabinets without asking. Derek arrived 30 minutes later with a leather portfolio bulging with papers. Sadie, we've looked over your finances, and I have concerns, Derek said, spreading documents across my dining table. Your investments aren't optimized for someone in your situation. My situation? A widow of advanced years with considerable assets. Marcus leaned forward. What Derek means is that we can help protect your money. You shouldn't worry about these complicated things. These forms will allow us to consolidate your accounts, Derek said, pointing to tiny print I pretended to squint at. And this one gives Marcus authority to make decisions if you're unable. Like if I get more forgetful? I asked innocently. Exactly. Vanessa chimed in. You've been so confused lately. Marcus tells me you called him George twice last week. I hadn't, but I nodded shamefully. After they left, I called my attorney, Julia, from my bedroom phone. We'd worked together when George and I updated our will 5 years ago. They're pushing for power of attorney already? That's aggressive, Julia said after I explained the situation. I need paper documents that look legitimate but won't actually give them control. I can draft something. Meanwhile, document everything. Dates, times, who said what. I hung up and pulled out the voice recorder I'd hidden in my knitting basket. I'd been recording every conversation since that first "she's too old" comment. The next day, Marcus called. Derek and I are coming tomorrow with final paperwork. Just a few signatures and everything will be taken care of. I made sure to shuffle when they arrived, wearing mismatched socks and leaving my hair slightly messy. Derek spread new documents across the table. This grants Marcus durable power of attorney. This authorizes transfer of your accounts to our management firm. And this gives us access to your safe deposit box, Marcus added, pointing to another form. I pretended to read slowly, asking questions that revealed my confusion. This all seems very complicated, I sighed dramatically. George always handled these things. That's why we're here, Aunt Sadie, Marcus said, patting my hand. To take care of everything for you? I signed each document with a shaky hand, watching their barely concealed excitement grow with each signature. There, Derek said, gathering the papers. You won't have to worry about a thing anymore. That's where you're wrong, I thought, smiling vacantly. You're the ones who should be worried. The following Monday, Marcus and Derek arrived unannounced. I was in my rocking chair, pretending to doze while they sat in my living room, thinking I couldn't hear them. Once we liquidate those railroad stocks, we should clear at least $500,000, Marcus said, keeping his voice low but not low enough. The transfer paperwork is already processing. I've got a buyer lined up for the house, too. Technically, we need her signature, but with power of attorney. How soon can we move her to Sunny Pines? That assisted living place? Give me 2 weeks. My buddy runs it. He won't ask questions when we say she can't manage on her own anymore. I let out a soft snore and they chuckled. Poor Aunt Sadie. Doesn't even realize what's happening, Marcus said. After they left, I called Elaine and asked her to meet me at the diner 3 blocks away. I didn't trust my own home anymore. You look different today, Elaine said when I slid into the booth. Sharper. Because I'm done playing confused old lady. I've been setting them up. Her eyes widened. What do you mean? Those documents they think give them control? Completely fake. My attorney Julia created them to look official, but they're legally worthless. Sadie, you sneaky thing. But they could still try something. That's why I've been working with Officer Bennett from the Financial Crimes Unit. I nodded toward a man in plain clothes sipping coffee at the counter. He gave us a subtle nod back. Officer Bennett came over, sliding into our booth. Mrs. Campbell has given us quite the case. We've been monitoring her accounts for unauthorized access attempts. There's been 3 so far, I said. Derek tried to transfer my stocks yesterday. The bank flagged it immediately, just like Julia arranged. Elaine shook her head in amazement. All this time, I've been worried sick about you. I needed their plan to progress far enough to show intent. The recorder in my knitting basket has hours of them planning everything. The next day, Marcus arrived with Vanessa, their faces tight with frustration. There seems to be some problem with your accounts, Aunt Sadie, Marcus said. Problem? I asked, blinking innocently. The transfer requests are being denied, Vanessa said. Did you talk to the bank? Why would I do that? You're handling everything now. Marcus glanced at Vanessa. Have you been taking your medication regularly? You seem different today. I take my vitamins, I said. George always said vitamins keep the mind sharp. You don't take vitamins, Aunt Sadie, Vanessa said firmly. You take medication for your memory issues. Remember the doctor's visit last month? I'd never seen this doctor they were inventing, but I played confused. Doctor? See? Vanessa whispered to Marcus. This is exactly why she needs full-time care. I think it's time we discuss Sunny Pines, Marcus said. It's a wonderful facility for people with your condition. What condition is that? I asked. Dementia, Aunt Sadie. We've all seen it getting worse. Last week, you couldn't even remember Vanessa's name. That's because I'd never met her before. But I didn't say that. Maybe you're right, I sighed. My mind does play tricks sometimes. They exchanged triumphant glances. I forget things, I continued, reaching for my knitting basket. Like whether I turned on my recorder this morning. I pulled out the small device, its red light blinking. What's that? Marcus demanded. Just a little insurance policy. Been recording our conversations for weeks now. Funny thing about my condition, I remember enough to press record. The color drained from their faces as I pressed play, and Derek's voice filled the room. Once we liquidate those railroad stocks. Marcus lunged for the recorder, but the doorbell rang. Perfect timing. That'll be my attorney, I said, standing up straight, no more shuffle in my step. And probably Officer Bennett, too. Officer? Vanessa's voice went up an octave. I opened the door to Julia holding a leather portfolio and Officer Bennett in full uniform this time. You're right on time, I said. They just heard the recordings. Marcus tried to push past me. This is a family matter. We're concerned about my aunt's mental state. Officer Bennett blocked his path. Sir, I need you to take a seat. Vanessa grabbed Marcus's arm. We should call our lawyer. Good idea, I said. You'll need one. Julia spread documents across my coffee table. The real ones this time. These are the actual power of attorney forms Mrs. Campbell signed. They grant no authority to Marcus or anyone else. Then what did we sign last week? Marcus demanded. Fake documents, I said. Impressive looking but legally meaningless. Officer Bennett placed his own folder on the table. We have records of 3 unauthorized attempts to access Mrs. Campbell's accounts in the past week. The most recent was a transfer attempt of $578,000 worth of railroad stocks. Derek arrived 15 minutes later, walking into the middle of it all. What's going on? I got a text to come urgently. Perfect, Officer Bennett said. Derek Williams, we have evidence you attempted to make unauthorized financial transactions using fraudulent documents. That's ridiculous. Mrs. Campbell signed everything. I signed fake papers, I said. My signature on real financial documents looks completely different. Check with the bank. Julia handed Derek another document. This is from the State Licensing Board. They've been notified of your actions and are suspending your financial advisor license pending investigation. Derek's face went pale. This will ruin me. You ruined yourself, I said. 30 years as an accountant taught me to spot financial predators. Did you think I wouldn't recognize what you were doing? Vanessa started crying. We were just trying to help. By selling my house, by inventing a dementia diagnosis, by planning to dump me in Sunny Pines. Marcus looked defeated. Aunt Sadie, please. We can explain. No need. Your recordings explained everything. Officer Bennett has copies, the prosecutor has copies, and by tomorrow, every family member will have copies too. 2 months later, Derek pled guilty to attempted fraud. He lost his license permanently and received 3 years probation. Marcus and Vanessa weren't charged. I couldn't bring myself to send my sister's son to jail. But they faced something perhaps worse. Family justice. Nobody would speak to them after hearing those recordings. Elaine and I sat in Julia's office, finalizing paperwork for the Campbell Foundation for Elder Financial Protection. You're putting $500,000 into this? Elaine asked, surprised. Those railroad stocks Marcus was so interested in. Might as well use them for something good. The foundation will provide legal help and financial education for seniors, Julia explained. Sadie's case will be our template for identifying predatory behavior. I signed the final document with a firm, clear signature. No shakiness, no confusion. They thought I was too old to know how much money I had, I said, capping my pen. Turns out I'm just the right age to know exactly what to do with it. Elaine raised her coffee cup. To sharp old ladies. I smiled. thinking of all the seniors who wouldn't become victims because of what happened to me. The sharper, the better. At what point does family loyalty end when someone betrays your trust? Sadie chose not to send her nephew to jail despite his attempt to steal her entire estate and force her into a nursing home. Would you have shown the same mercy, or would you have pressed for maximum legal consequences? If you enjoyed this story of sweet justice, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more compelling revenge tales. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'm curious where you draw the line with family who cross you.